Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. Good evening, Hannah.
Good evening, and how are you?
I am great. Just pulled off a long night at the office, but dying to talk about this Andor episode.
Yes. Oh my word. Yes.
Yeah, episode 10, One Way Out. I actually love the titles of these episodes. They're actually really good.
Oh yes.
So we'll get to that here in a minute. First up, of course, I want to thank everybody, for listening and watching, especially our patrons. If you're interested in supporting the show, patreon.com/Inside the Force. Go there and get all of our perks that are there, and of course, youtube.com/Inside the Force, where all of our shows are there on the playlists. And of course, Beyond the Saga, which we just did. Which one did I just release? Oh, Into the Dark. Yes. Where we talk about High Republic. Little High Republic stuff. Anyway, so got more of that coming out. Actually got a council session coming out next week. That's a pretty interesting topic, which at some point I want your opinion on, Hannah.
Okay.
We might. I was gonna probably maybe squeeze it in, but it might be a bigger conversation, which is it might actually wait till after these next two episodes of Andor, because it's basically about whether or not your ideas or your thoughts about the Empire have changed based on what Andor has given us.
Okay.
Anyway, so again, thanks everybody, especially our patrons. News-wise, a couple things. First, earlier in the week, exciting news about the next Disney Plus series that just started production, which is The Acolyte.
Oh.
Yeah, this. I feel like the series has kind of been flying under the radar a little bit. Everybody's talking about, obviously, Andor right now, but season 3 of Mandalorian's coming out early next year. Bad Batch season 2 is coming out next year. Everybody's kind of focused on Ahsoka, which is coming out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Acolyte's probably not coming till 2024, but it has begun shooting. And they released, and really that's all we knew was basically The Acolyte, and they still haven't said Lucasfilm hasn't necessarily said specifically on when this series takes place. Mm-hmm. There's rumors that it takes place during the High Republic, but right now the High Republic takes place, about 200 or even more. Phase 2 even takes place further back than Phase 1, about 200 years before Episode 1. But now, at least what I've heard or seen, is that this is actually a little closer, about 100 years before Episode 1. So I guess they're saying that's still High Republic era. I don't know when they're considering the High Republic ended, but, is Episode 1 still High Republic, I guess? I don't know. But anyway, The Acolyte takes place roughly then, but again, that's not official. So the only thing official is that we know that this series is run by showrunner and executive producer Leslie Heelan, who was known for a show called Russian Doll, which I'm not familiar with. I don't know if you watched Russian Doll.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know about her work, but it comes highly recommended, obviously, from Kathleen Kennedy. So the only thing we know now, along with the cast, which we'll go over in a second, is this kind of semi. It does say it here. So this is official. The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. A
Okay.
former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. So that's your show summary. Did you know that before I just read that?
I did, but it's been a while since I read it. So
Yeah. So it does take place at the end of the High Republic era. So I guess, again, we don't know exactly how many years yet, but I heard rumors or read somewhere that it might be about 100 years before, which would make sense. So anyway, let's go over the cast and then we'll get your thoughts, Hannah. Cast. So there's 9 pictures that were released, even though I think you looked up that there's possibly a 10th person that's listed on IMDb right now.
yes.
So real quick, there's an Amandla Stenberg, Lee Jung Jae, Manny Jacinto, Daphne Keene, Jodie Turner Smith, Rebecca Henderson, Charlie Barnett, Dean Charles Chapman, Carrie Ann Moss. Most people, I would probably say, recognized maybe 3 or 4 names. I recognize 5 names. And then you have the 10th person. I think you said you found on IMDb.
Let me quickly pull that up.
But that wasn't released with this cast anyway on Lucasfilm. So more than likely he's in it. They're in it, but
I mean, on IMDb we got Manny. I'm gonna massacre this last name. It's either
Jacinto, I think. Yeah.
Jacinto. Manny Jacinto is the 10th name that is on IMDb.
No, I said Manny Jacinto.
Oh, you did? Okay, then who am I? James Henry Thomas.
Yes, James Henry Thomas. Yes. We don't have a picture of him on this list, though.
There's a picture of him on IMDb if you want to go to his page.
Yes. Okay. Hannah, how excited? I know you weren't that excited for Andor. How excited are you for this series?
Hey, anything that's outside of the Skywalker saga time period, I'm excited for. And I'm glad that we're actually going to get some High Republic into a TV series and or a movie. You know, I'm glad that we're finally going to get that instead of just have it in the books and in the comics. I do have a question because I look at Carrie Ann Moss. Is it possible that Avar Kriss was alive towards the end of the High Republic era? Because she looks very similar to the drawings of Avar Kriss.
Okay.
Just throw a blonde wig on her.
Wow, that's actually really interesting. So Avar Kriss would, I guess, have to. Well, I guess it really depends on what time period this is. That's the thing.
Exactly, but that was as soon as I saw that Carrie was cast in this, I was like,
Yeah.
Are we getting Avar Kriss? Because she looks almost exactly like Avar Kriss on the novel of Into the Light or Light of the Jedi. Just slap a blonde wig on her, as I said. So
That's pretty good.
That was my first thought.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know where they're going with this. I recognized about 3 names in there. So I'm very excited, and the 3 names I recognized are excellent actors. So I can't wait to see what this is going to be. As long as it's outside the Skywalker saga, let's expand. Let's explore other aspects of the galaxy and other aspects of this timeline. Especially if we get more Sith and more dark side, all for that.
Yeah, I do think that this is definitely going to be centered around light and dark. I think, in the Force. I think there's no doubt about that. It's obviously in the description too, right? Padawan and Jedi and so anyway, Lee Jung Jae, obviously people should recognize if you watch Squid Game.
He's an amazing actor.
Yes. I think then Manny, I I just recently recognized him. He's actually been in Top Gun Maverick. That's probably the biggest movie of the year so far, up until probably when Avatar comes out. But Daphne Keane, everybody should know. She looks a little older, obviously, because she's aged up now, but she was in Logan. She was X-23 in Logan. Charlie Barnett, it says he's from Russian Doll, which would make sense because that's Leslie, the showrunner, worked with him. I know him recently from a show called The Terminal that was on Prime Video with Chris Pratt. He was actually really good in it. I thought it was really good. And of course, Carrie-Anne Moss, everybody knows from The Matrix. So the other ones I don't know. So we'll have to see. But I'm stoked. I think this is, I think it is going to be basically about the Jedi and probably just these two Jedi, the Padawan and the Master, discovering that the Sith is still out there is what I'm guessing. Obviously, the Jedi Council doesn't find out, or maybe they do and they just bury it. I don't know. But what makes me wonder is on this list, like who are the Jedi and who are the Sith in this, right? So, because if they're going by the rule 2 still, that means there's only 2 Sith. So that means I think 4 out of these 9 people I'm looking at on the screen here, they're the two light sides and 2 dark sides. So now there were rumors. I don't know if this is going to be, obviously this is being true or not, but there are rumors that since this is possibly 100 years before the Phantom Menace, that this could possibly center around the start of Darth Plagueis, who was Sidious's master, Palpatine's master. Now in the he hasn't been canonized besides his name in episode 3, like he was in the expanded universe. So in the expanded universe, he was his species what was called immune, which was, if everybody kind of remembers, in episode 2 when all the separatists are sitting around the table and they all kind of pledge their allegiance. The character that says the banking clan is with you, and that creature is immune, or that species is immune. So in the books, that's what he looked like. Now, there's not a guarantee that's what he's going to end up being once he actually is canonized. So he actually could be a human. And it could be one of these people, or one of these people is going to be just a CG version, right? The CG stand-in or the voice. I don't know. I like your idea about Carrie-Anne Moss. I think if it really depends there on the timeline, because if it's 100 years later from Phase 1, like the great disaster, then more than likely she's not alive.
Well, I mean, isn't there a thing? And maybe this is no longer considered canon because the books get all muddled with that. But I thought Jedi lived longer. They
probably could, but I don't know if 100 years is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on how old she is, I guess she could be. Yes, she could be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of an example of anybody that's like.
Maybe she's a Force ghost.
Maybe a Force ghost. Yeah. Yeah, I can't even begin to kind of think about who would be the Master, who would be the Jedi. I would think. I'm guessing that because so Amanda is in the top left. And I'm guessing that the order, there's a kind of an order to this, right?
Okay.
So Amanda, and then Lee Jung is next, and then Manny. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that the first two are the Jedi. That Amanda's the Padawan because she looks younger, and Lee Jung-jae is the actual Jedi Master. And that would kind of make sense because he's probably going to be one of the stars because he's such a big name.
Yes.
And then Carrie's at the end, meaning she's one of those, I think, like special guests, you know, that has a powerful, you know, powerful presence, but not as many appearances. You know what I mean? Like she's like the, you know, she's like the with Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury kind of thing at the end of the movie. That's kind of where I'm leaning. That's why I think she's down there because she was a late addition too. Like she was just announced.
Oh, so maybe she's a Force ghost. Maybe.
Well, she could be the Force ghost, or she could be the Sith. She could be the Sith Master too.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, and maybe that's why she's not revealed as much or in it as much because you don't find out about her till later. So I think that's what I'm going to go. I want to go with Amanda being the Padawan, Lee Jung-jae being the Jedi Master, Manny, since he's there, I'm going to say he's the Sith apprentice, and I'm going to say Carrie's the Sith Lord. Right now, that's what I'm going to go with.
I'm going to go with Carrie is Avar Chris some way.
Okay. I like that. I do like that, though. So then she would be the Jedi Master then.
I don't know if she'd be the Jedi Master. She could be a Force ghost.
So she's just there, though. Yeah.
So
or she could be alive, depending on the time frame.
Right. So I just the only thing I think you're right in the order of it, where it's Padawan, Jedi Master, Sith, apprentice. I do agree with that, but I think Carrie is Avar Chris, and we just see her in some capacity. I don't know what capacity, but some capacity. That's what I'm going to go with. Yeah,
I mean, it's possible again that since this is, I'm probably not all of them, but it's possible all of these are somewhat Jedi. Yeah, because this seems like it's around that time period. There's going to be a lot of Jedi. Obviously, there's only 2 Sith apparently, so. I'm excited though. I think this is one of the, you know, when all these shows were announced, you know, obviously Obi-Wan was high on my list of excitement, and then Andor, but Ahsoka and this one are right up there. I mean, this is a great idea.
Yeah. Although I'll be honest, I'm more excited about Ahsoka to see Thrawn.
Yes, I would still put Ahsoka above this actually in excitement, but. What is so intriguing about this for me too is similar to what you just said, is new characters, new timeline. That right there is enough to really get interested in this thing, because
yes,
you truly have no idea what's going to happen to these people, right? I mean, you have no idea,
and that's the beauty of it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the Acolyte. There's no release date, but if they're just now shooting now, probably not going to be till 2024, only because Andor Season 2 is about to start shooting, and that's not coming out till 2024, so more likely not going to get it till then. All right. Let's see. Anything else to say about that? No. Okay, yeah. That's it. All right. Next bit of news kind of just came out actually a little bit today. Actually, yeah, about 4 or 5 hours ago, it looks like. I'll hand this over to Hannah because she knows more about this than me.
I squealed with delight when I saw this. So Disney, their official Facebook page is where I saw this. At exactly 7:14 p.m. is when I saw this. They announced that streaming tomorrow on Disney Plus will be Zen, Grogu, and Dust Bunnies, a hand-drawn animated original short by Studio Ghibli. If you don't know Studio Ghibli was co-founded by Hayao Miyazaki, who is this amazing storyteller. Studio Ghibli is behind movies such as, I believe it won an Academy Award, Spirited Away. They're behind my personal favorite, Howl's Moving Castle. They're behind Porco Rosso, Princess Mononoke, My Friend Totoro, um, uh, duh, 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 Castle in the Sky, several different anime films. So the fact that they're going to be releasing a Grogu animated short is absolutely fantastic and very exciting for me. I love watching Hayao Miyazaki films personally, also because they feature a lot of strong female protagonists, which is fantastic. And actually, storytellers at Pixar will say whenever they are struggling to come up with a story or they're writing a story and they don't know what the next event should be, they will watch a Studio Ghibli or Hayao Miyazaki movie to help
Nice.
them form their story. And I know they've teamed up with Hayao Miyazaki sometimes too. So I just love the fact that Studio Ghibli is behind this new short and that we're going to see it tomorrow.
Yeah. I know that's kind of a strange announcement to you literally say then tomorrow. I mean, I was waiting to see like maybe later this month because
Right?
I did see like a tweet, I think, from Star Wars maybe yesterday. That it was very subtle because people were, I think that's kind of maybe the first thing they saw was, oh, it looks like they're going to do something with, Studio Ghibli. It was like it was 13 hours ago. So it was this morning, right? Yeah, this morning.
That would be this morning.
So they tweeted a picture of, which looks like, I don't think that's Grogu. Oh, maybe that is Grogu.
That is Grogu.
Yeah, that's Grogu. You know what I'm talking about? The little statue?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not that. This picture came out this morning.
Oh.
Right? It's on Twitter. I didn't see it on Facebook.
Huh.
But it's a little statue with, is that the guy you're talking about? Like
I can't. It's not coming on.
maybe. Yeah.
I think it's very blurry, but that might be.
Well, it's blurry because it's the back. It is the back. They purposely blurred it out. But I'm sorry. Star Wars retweeted it. It is Studio Ghibli's tweet. Ghibli. So I guess it's the guy you mentioned.
It looks like him.
He's got a white beard.
Yeah.
And then he's got the statue there. So everybody was starting to assume like, oh, that means Star Wars is doing something with Studio Ghibli. Well, then that picture you just said and that announcement came out tonight. So, Disney Plus today, because the show's out now.
Oh yeah, today.
Today, you can go watch it on Disney Plus. So, how long do you think it's going to be? Like when it says short, like is it like 10 minutes? Is it like 20 minutes?
I don't know because I haven't watched a Studio Ghibli short. I've only watched their feature length movies, which can be 2 hours long.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So short could be 30 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. I have no idea.
Hand-drawn animation, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
I don't even know who does that anymore.
Studio Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli, yeah, I guess so. You're right.
Well, the Japanese culture, and this is just based on my observation when I was there, they're all about no matter what job you have, you do it as perfect as you can. Mm-hmm. I mean, we bought something and we asked the guy if he could just gift wrap it. He spent 5 to 10 minutes gift wrapping it because he would make a crease and go, that's not straight, and he would redo it. He wanted to make sure it was absolutely perfect. So to me, hearing that Studio Ghibli is doing that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. So I guess this is a crazy question because I just don't know. So all their stuff is hand-drawn animation? Like all their anime?
I believe so. At least their older stuff was.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't speak towards their newer stuff because I haven't seen Ponyo. which I think was a newer Studio Ghibli.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that. I'd have to research that.
Yeah, that's I'm not huge into anime. Of course, I'll check this out. With anything with Grogu, I'll check out. So I'll check that out when I wake up. I think my daughter, who is big time in anime, will probably freak out over this. So
Surprise her.
Cool.
Just surprise her with it. Be like, hey, guess what? I know what we're gonna watch, and then pull it up on Disney Plus, and she'd be like,
because I know she knows that studio. So did they were they and I probably should know this, but were they involved in Star Wars Visions at all?
I feel like they were.
Were they one of the studios that did Star Wars Visions? Because there were several studios that worked on that. I think maybe 3 or 4 studios, but I'm not sure if that's true or not.
What studios were involved with? I don't think they were.
Yeah, I don't think they were either. Because now that I think about I remember kind of talking about the names and reading about the names. Here they are right here. Kamikaze Doga, Studio Colorido, Geno Studio, Trigger, Konami, Citrus, Production IG, and yeah, so they weren't. Looks like they weren't. So cool. Brand new, just one short, I guess it looks like, with about Grogu. So go check that out. Disney Plus. Sweet. Interesting.
Good
coming out on a Saturday, you know.
They probably don't know how well it's going to do, so they're just like, here's a cookie. I don't know.
I know, right? Well, I know, because they're literally marketed it for a day.
Yeah, literally. As soon as I Googled what studios were behind Visions, or I asked if Studio Ghibli was part of Star Wars Visions, and the first articles popped up were dated a day ago saying,
yes,
Disney teases and Studio Ghibli pairing for Star Wars, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right. Okay, go check that out. Then, of course, go to StarWars.com if you want to read up on the Acolyte. That's on their latest news feed as well. All right, before we get into Andor here, again, just a little announcement on your upcoming publications. Of course, this month in November 22nd, High Republic continues with Convergence. January 3rd, the Battle of Jeddah, and then March 7th, Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars, and then April 4th, the High Republic Cataclysm, and then Phase 2 ends with Path of Vengeance on May 2nd. Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, July 18th. So those are your novels. Comics-wise, this past Wednesday, you got the High Republic #2. Next week coming out, Dr. Aphra 26, Han Solo, Chewbacca #7, and the beginning of Hidden Empire. Hidden Empire #1 comes out next week. A week after that, November 23rd, you got Yoda #1 and Star Wars Revelations #1. And then the end of the month, November 30th, Darth Vader 29. So those are your comics coming out. Okay, let's talk about Andor.
Woo!
Whoa. So now we have come to the third act of this arc, 3-episode arc, where Andor is in prison on Narkina 5, and they have just learned this last episode that they are never getting out of this prison. So it's time to get out. All right, and overall, now, again, I might as well say it, warning, spoilers, we're going to be talking about this thing. So if you haven't seen this thing, probably need to turn this off.
Yes.
And come back. Overall, thoughts and impressions on this episode?
Hands down, it's my favorite episode. Once again, the acting is spectacular. But I think One Way Out, obviously, if it mainly follows, it mainly has to deal with the coup that happened at the factory and everybody getting out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And the high stakes of it all, because they're panicking now, they're scared, this is time we got to do it. So obviously applies to that, becomes their chant. But I think also One Way Out applies to Luthen's story and Mon's story. For Mon, she's now in a position where she has to pick either her family or the rebellion. And now is the moment where she has to decide what role is she playing the rebellion, if she's going to play a role at all. Mm-hmm. With Luthen, we see Luthen's true colors.
Mm-hmm.
We see he's like, to him, the ends justify the means. Personally in my own life, I don't necessarily believe that, but Luthen believes that wholeheartedly, very much like Saw Gerrera. And to him, that's the one way out. Yeah. That's the one way out. And I'll get back to my other thought about that in a moment. But so One Way Out applies to Mon, it applies to Andor, it applies to Luthen. I got literal goosebumps watching this. I was watching it on my iPhone sitting next to my husband, and I would audibly gasp at times.
Yeah.
And he would go, "What?" And I'm like, "You haven't seen it, so I can't tell you."
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just my overall takeaway. It's just spectacular.
Yeah.
Great storytelling, great editing, great acting, great everything. What were your takeaway thoughts?
Yeah, I think is very similar. I think again, when you look down at the titles, we mentioned how the titles have been very ingenious. Mm-hmm. Because they don't just describe one aspect of the show. I mean, it does describe, like you said, each one of these scenarios that are happening to these characters. And I find that kind of similar to all of these, like even like the last one, I think it was Nobody's Listening. Mm-hmm. Like nobody's listening on the Andor thing, but then in all the other scenarios you can say because it showed Mothma in the Senate and nobody's listening to her. It's like, I mean, it's just crazy that's how good these people have thought about these titles and what's happening and how it relates to everybody in these episodes. It's so good. I definitely think this is it my favorite episode? I mean, it probably is. I honestly though, I think it's the best episode.
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those ones where it's finally, you not only do you have the great dialogue and the great situations and characters, but you also have some action now in this, and you feel for these guys that are, fighting their way out. But then, you get, which we'll get into here in a second more, but you get two monologues from two fantastic actors. And man, if you're not in it with us, with what they're saying, I mean, you haven't been paying attention, because these characters are incredible. But we'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But one of my thoughts, though, Hannah, I wanted to see what you thought about this. Like, no matter how much, which she was, you've probably heard me from the beginning, I've actually been more interested in Mothma's story than I have been with Andor's. Like, with Andor, it's cool, it's great to see, how he's developed into this rebel, officer or rebel spy or whatever that we see in Rogue One. but again, we haven't seen Mothma really. You know, she was in a little bit of Rebels, but you know, I've always had questions on how she got involved, why everybody's willing to drop everything and follow her. You know, what has she done to gain that much, you know, that many followers and people that are willing to die for the rebellion? And as I watch these episodes, and especially getting to this one, you know, not that it's good or bad. I mean, it just I just never saw her story really going this way. You know, where she is, like you said, kind of forced into a corner in a sense of figuring out what to do. And obviously, I never knew about her family. I never knew that she would run into any issues with the rebellion. If anything, I thought if she did have a family, they would have known and maybe supported it. But this is a different path that I thought. But man, is it risky? It's intense. It's stressful for her. You can just see the stress in her face, right? So I don't know. What did you think? What did you think we were going to get with Mothma, and has this gone any way you thought it was?
I had no idea what we were going to get with her, so this is nothing like I imagined, because I had no idea what to imagine. And I'm absolutely in love with this woman. The actress, I mean, she deserves an Emmy for this.
Absolutely.
Spectacular. And I don't know, like, to me, I always thought she was just like, I'm just going to step into this because someone needs to step into it. Like, I always thought that was her, not someone who had a family and it was considering that. And we see a parallel between that and Lonnie with Luthen, because Lonnie has a family and he's in a corner and he doesn't know what to do. So you have that parallel there as well. So with Mon, man, it's just, I think sometimes we forget that even though with politicians they live a completely different life and they're not in the thick of it when it comes to the rebellion, they're still at risk. Yeah. They're still in danger. Their families are still in danger. Yes, they have a cushy life, but as soon as the Empire knows they're against them, they're going to get shut down and potentially killed. So, especially with the latest thing that came from the
ISB. Yeah.
ISB.
Not IBS.
I was going to say, I don't think it's IBS, but I could be wrong.
Could be. No, it's ISB, yeah.
ISB. Especially with the ISB. And the latest thing going through saying if anybody is even remotely suspicious, grab them.
Right. Yeah, she's, this whole thing, like Davo brings up about his son and like wanting to set up
Davo. Wait, Davo? Yeah, not Lonnie, sorry.
Davo, yeah. Wanting to set up his son with Mothma's daughter, and it's like, I mean, you could just see it in her face, man. I mean, it's unbelievable how she's delivering this thing.
As soon as he said, I want to bring my son, I literally went,
yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
You son of a, like, it, oh, man.
Yeah. No, it's again, like you said, one way out. It's very significant to her storyline as well as Andor's, and I believe that's the only scene we got of her in this.
I think
episode.
It is.
Yeah, and then of course we see a lot of what the prison, breaking out of the prison, and they had a good plan and they executed it. So let's get to the first big monologue. So Kino Loy, played by Andy Serkis, obviously, man, delivers one of the best scenes in Star Wars, I think, because I love how, And I really do love how Andor, it's funny because Andor to me, especially in this scene, you're seeing Andor somewhat act as a follower, where he's saying, it needs to come from you. You need to say it. But then when when Kino kind of starts and he kind of babbling a little bit, Andor steps in and says, "Is that the best you got?" And you can see, to me, he's actually the leader. And obviously he's organized this thing. But I think, a lot of the people there obviously look at Kino as kind of the head guy. So it's really showing how, which I think we've known a little bit, but just how smart Andor is. And it's really remarkable to see, really, truly, the growth that's happened just in these few months from when we first saw him on Morlana 1 and then now. It is, you do get that sense that some time has passed, which it has, but it's so, the thread of his character has really come through in all this stuff. And, this kind of felt like a season finale, even though we got a couple episodes left. So, what do you think about Andy Serkis?
That speech and that performance is going to go down in history very much like the speech from Braveheart, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Or at least it should. It wasn't corny. Mm-hmm. It was It was motivating. It was raw. And it had, at first it was very hesitant, very unsure. And then as he kept going, he just kept gaining momentum. And Andy Serkis, man, he's an amazing actor.
Amazing.
He knows, if eyes are a window to the soul, then Andy Serkis has one of the cleanest windows I have ever seen. Like I don't think you can say anything else without sounding like a broken record, honestly.
Right. Yeah. No, so well done. So well done. I don't know, I don't know what else to say besides, while he's talking, also seeing, cutting to all the prisoners and seeing their reactions, it was, you felt like you were in that prison, and you were like, let's get the hell out of here. This is awesome.
This isn't saying much because I still cry at that one scene in The Lion King that we all know I'm talking about. But I started to cry in the middle of his speech.
Yeah.
This was that moving.
Yeah, you can just feel it, man.
Whew.
You can feel it in his face. So let's move to Lonnie and Luthen, because again, besides Mothma, this is the only other scene that we cut away to. So there's no Cyril in this episode, no Deidre in this episode.
No, there's Deidre.
Actually, there's one scene of Deidre. You're right,
but it's very small. It's not.
Actually, Deidre at the very beginning. Yeah, when they talked about the Krieger thing.
Yeah.
And then there was one other scene on Ferrix where they were talking about his mom. Mm-hmm. So then we have this big dialogue though with Lonnie, who we have discovered now is an Imperial, or he's a rebel. He's undercover. Well, I can't really tell. Was he a rebel that joined the Empire, or an Empire that defected to the rebellion?
I have no idea, because Luthen also, I feel like I have to watch it again, because Luthen also had this line where he said, we gave you information and that got you up in the Empire. So to me, I think he started out and I could be wrong, but I think he started out in the Empire. Then somehow Luthen got a hold of him. Mm-hmm. And basically said, I'll give you information about the rebellion if you give me information about the Empire.
Yeah. That's how I feel like it too. Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, Luthen, what are you doing? You're willing to sacrifice all of these like, what's the point of what you're fighting for then?
Yeah.
What is the point? 50 men, that's a lot of men. And I get the
Yes.
idea of, oh, well, if we do something, then they know that there's going to be a mole. And like, I understand there is a debate there, but you can come to a different solution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think he was in the Empire and then joined the rebellion, and obviously he's very serious. He's not just fishing information, because Luthen does mention to him that he took a vow.
Yeah.
Meaning that he did commit himself to the rebellion. So it's not like he's just an Imperial fishing information, sending information.
But I wonder, because this wouldn't surprise me, knowing the manipulator that Luthen is, I wonder if it started out with Luthen saying, oh, we don't want much. We just want a little bit. But we'll give you all of it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then that sounded good to him. But then as they kept going, Luthen silently threatened him to get more and more and more and more and more. Just showing how cutthroat. There was actually a moment in this episode during his monologue where I was like, is this Palpatine?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Well, because when you read the books, especially, you notice this incredibly in Queen's Hope. You see how truly manipulative he is and how truly he is playing both sides. 100%. And it's a huge chess game to him. So there was a moment where I'm like, is this freaking Palpatine? But then I remembered, no. He actually has a cloak and he, is incredibly aged. So this can't be him. But I mean, what like, it sounds like him.
Well, it's probably, that's not a bad comparison. I mean, it might be the rebellion version of Palpatine in a sense, right?
Might as well be.
Yeah, I mean, Luthen does have, he is trying to, he's got good intentions, but I think the way he's doing it in a sort of manipulative way to get things done. I mean, that's definitely, very Palpatine-ish. Now, what I thought was the best thing about this talk that he was having with Lonnie, my favorite part about it was when he basically described everything he's been doing, because he referenced 15 years and everything he's done, everything he's sacrificed. He kind of mentioned that whatever I'm doing is never going to be recognized. Like, no one's going to know about me, even if I'm successful at this, which I thought was brilliant because, again, we don't know about him. We don't, nothing of him is mentioned, obviously, in Rogue One, the original trilogy, nothing, right? So there is somebody or something that started this whole thing, like truly started this whole thing. And it seems like he's the guy that started this whole thing. And I think that's actually pretty cool to figure out. And again, I mean, as soon as he said, what have I sacrificed? I knew he was going to say everything, because he has devoted his entire life and who he is and how he acts fully to this thing. And I just thought it was just as powerful as Andy's monologue, and we got both of these in this same episode.
Yeah, I mean, like, all over social media, all I'm seeing is people saying, holy crap, Andy Serkis, what a great monologue. And don't get me wrong, it deserves that recognition. It 1,000,000% deserves it. But we also need to give recognition to to Luthen's performance, the actor who plays Luthen, his performance and his monologue.
Yes.
And I mean, I feel like Luthen started out, I definitely do believe he was the first domino in this whole rebellion. But I think he started out with very good intentions, with like we're peaceful violence in a sense. We'll destroy some factories, but we're not going to kill anyone. We're going to create some chaos. But I think what happened is that he began to rationalize everything. He begins to justify everything he did. And once you start doing that, that becomes a very slippery slope. And you get to a point where you're like, how the heck did I get here? So I think he just was so frustrated that he wasn't seeing any change. He's like, well, I got to change something. What do I have to do? I have to do this. But if I do this, I got to give up this. Well, you know what? It's worth it in the end. So we see the choices he made and how that's where he ended up. So now we're like, okay, well, Mon, what choices are you going to make? Because we know she ended in a completely different place than Luthen. So the question is, and Luthen sacrificed everything. He sacrificed family. He sacrificed love. He sacrificed his own inner peace. So does that mean Mon doesn't sacrifice her family? Does Mon try to balance both out? What choice does Mon make?
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see. That's another cool thing that came out of his monologue is we get his whole backstory.
Well, that's the thing is, do we I feel like there's still more backstory that we need, because I think he really hasn't revealed how long he's been in it. But like you kind of said there, it was like, what caused him to, because he doesn't just dislike the Empire. I mean, he wants to destroy the Empire.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a little bit different than just what Mon's doing, which is just reestablishing the Republic.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? True. So I think there's something there. I think there's something else that happened that really kind of sent him down this path. Because I just don't think the way he describes his feelings about it, the way he describes how his devotion for it, I just think that it's a little more beyond than somebody just wanting to establish the Republic, you know?
Yeah.
Like what Mon and what Bale are trying to do.
I agree with that, but I'm not 100% sure it started out immediately with, doesn't matter if we lose men, it's all for the cause.
That's
like,
true.
I don't think he jumped there, but I definitely agree with you. Something happened. Something set him off. I think he started I hate to call it like the action side versus the political side, but I think he started the action side of it.
Yeah.
Because it's clear in Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes that Mon, Organa, they started the political side of it.
Yes.
So,
I mean, is it possible that the girl Clea that's in his shop, is that possible that she's actually his daughter?
Wouldn't surprise me.
And maybe he lost his wife, you know, somehow in the beginning of this. I don't know. And that's where the hatred comes from. I don't know, but either way, he seems very persuasive. He seems very determined to get this done, and you know, more so. Even though I feel like Mothma's determined, but like you said, kind of in a different way. And she's obviously in the spotlight with things, and whereas Luthen's in the shadows, trying to get things done. So, very good contrast between the two. Very good contrast. Do you? Last couple of questions here. Do you? Because I saw an article that was someone that was reviewing this episode, and they kind of mentioned that they had read that there is a little bit of a significance to what these prisoners were building, and that it could eventually come back. Now, I think the most significant thing is it could be like just Death Star parts. I don't know how much more significant you can get, but I don't. Do you think there's any? Do you think we need to know what they were building?
I think it would be nice.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, the fact that Andor even said in this episode, they're building something big.
Yes.
And they don't want any of us to tell what we witnessed here.
Yep.
So because of that, I think it is Death Star, because Death Star is is a huge secret. So I do believe they're building the Death Star.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's pieces for the Death Star. You know, because the history of the Death Star, a little bit, I think that we know of, is that it was being constructed on the outsides, the outskirts of the outer orbit of Geonosis, because they were using the Geonosians as slave labor in a sense too. But they eventually wiped them out or whatever, and then, you know, I guess I don't know if I don't think it got finished there, because by the time we get to Star Wars Rebels, they show up there and it's not there.
Even if they're building the second Death Star instead of the first Death Star,
true,
it's still sick, because obviously they were building the second Death Star while they were building the first Death Star.
Yeah, I like that, actually. I like that, because we haven't heard if that is true or not. Yeah, I do like that.
So it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. It's still a Death Star.
Yes.
It's still the biggest weapon they were able to create.
Yep, that's right. Okay, so I'll back up to the scene before Luthens, which is, of course, the actual prison escape, and probably the most. I mean, we're watching this insanely incredible monologue, and then all of a sudden, with all these prisoners getting to the edge of the prison and freedom, poor Kina says he can't swim. Now, I'm telling you, Hannah, like, and I know we keep saying it, again, we keep saying it, but that is just brilliant writing. It's brilliant writing. It's because who would have ever guessed that he was going to say something like that? You know, you've seen situations like this, and you know, I don't think it was going to happen like this. But you know what? You've seen some of these situations, especially with prisoners that have been in prison for so long, is that they don't know life outside of the prison, right? And they're terrified of getting back into civilian life, right? And some have, you know, depending on how they were treated in prison, you know, just might be bad people coming out, or just have a bad mind in them going into life. I mean, that's a route you could have went with him, because he's been there so long. He could have been like at the edge, but like, I can't do it. You know, I can't leave. I don't know anything else. But to have him realize, like, because he knew, I would assume, I mean, he knew this whole thing was surrounded by water. Right. So the fact that he gets to the edge there and he's like, I mean, I can't go. If I jump, I'm going to die. I can't. And it was cool because it was in this middle of this chaos, and you could barely hear him saying, like, you know, I can't swim. And Andor, of course, he couldn't hear him. He's like, what? I don't know. I just, that's when you were saying you were kind of tearing up, that's when I was like tearing up. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
I teared up then too. Don't get me wrong. I cried then too. So I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because I thought for a split second, but right before that moment, oh my God, Andy Serkis is actually going to live. He's going to live.
Yes. Now, we didn't see him die. He didn't fall in. So
he could still be alive.
So do you think he's still alive?
I have no idea. Because
I think he's still alive. I think he's still alive.
It's a miracle, because you see how high it is above the water. Because my first thought is, you can't jump.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah.
You will die.
Yeah.
Jumping from that height is like hitting concrete.
I know.
Unless you dive appropriately. So how many people dove and then drowned because they were immediately knocked unconscious or they died from immediate impact.
Yeah, or they broke a bone on the way down, you know?
It's a miracle alone that so many people survived that jump. Because that was my first thought. But then that one guy's like, one way out, and he jumped. Because it's like, at this point, we've come this far, we got to go for it.
And most of them weren't even afraid of dying at that point.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I'm going to die if I stay in here. I might as well just at least take this chance.
Yeah. But there's got to be a transport or something on that.
I was thinking that they were going to come to this ship, and then they're going to be like, who could fly us? And before they finish the thought, Cassian's like, I've got it.
Yes. I mean, there's got to be a hangar or something in there, that has some ships in it, because I just don't see how they couldn't. So I do believe he goes and finds something like that.
Maybe he finds a rowboat and he
exactly. Or maybe he finds a life vest, and puts a life, because he's so good. And I think that's why, if I'm the creator of this thing or the producer of this thing, that's why you don't show him fall in the water, because it's like, we want to save him just in case he has this huge reception and all of a sudden all these fans are like, we need Andy Serkis back, so I think it was pretty smart to hint that he can't get off the prison, but definitely he finds a way, I feel like.
Make it ambiguous. I knew that too. Like, I'm like, I wonder if he'll come back, but if he doesn't, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But I think it also plays back to the whole idea that in the very beginning of the episode, he's going, now we can't do it now. We can't do it now. We got to plan this out. We got to plan this out. And Cassian's like, we have no time. We have to go with what we have. Like, they're coming tomorrow. Right. Who knows if they're going to come again after that? We're all dead. We got to do it tomorrow. So I feel like that goes back to the fact of, if he took time to really think through everything, he would have eventually gotten to the point of, oh crap, I can't swim.
Agreed. Yeah.
But there was no time for that.
Yeah, I don't think he anticipated living that long.
I think he thought he was going to die.
Yes. Before he even got to that point. Yes.
You could tell when they activated the floor that he was like, I got to make sure all these guys get on the table. I'll die, but I got to make sure. And then he's like shocked. He's like, wait, I'm alive?
Yes.
So I agree with you. I don't think he anticipated that he was going to survive that long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's episode 10.
I do want to say, can we give one shout out for the actor who played Lonnie?
Yes.
Because the fact that he had no actor to play off of, and he had to do that entire scene in the elevator, one take, listening to someone giving him lines.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh.
That's really good. Yeah, good point. Yeah, again, one of the, if not the best episode of Andor, probably one of my favorites. And we still got 2 more episodes left. So 2-part finale starts next week. I'm gonna say he's got to go to. I feel like he's got to go back to Ferrix.
He has to.
Yeah. And
I just want to know: does he connect with Mon by the end of this?
I don't think by the end of this. I think it's going to be next season.
Okay.
I think it is. Because I think there's. I don't. I mean, if at all, it could be. Maybe that's how it could end, with them two meeting each other.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, are we at least going to get them to meet each other?
Yeah, I think you probably should. Yeah, I think you probably should. Just because this whole series is based on them, so.
Well, okay, so here's the other thing, too. And this is the other thing that made me go, is Luthen... Sorry, it's just another thought I have while watching the episode. It also made me go, is Luthen Palpatine? Because in that elevator, Luthen's talking like... Because Deidre's on the right track. She is on the right track. And the fact that Luthen straight up lies to Lonnie, and he's like, oh, I had nothing to do with Eldani. that came up, but we turned it down. I mean, that shows that Luthen doesn't trust Lonnie, which is another reason why I think Lonnie was part of the Empire and then swore to the Republic.
Yep.
Because, Luthen's straight up lying to him.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But the fact that Luthen says, well, she's wasting her time. I'm like, no, she's on the right track. What? So in the back of my mind, I'm going, what bigger plan do you have in store?
Yeah, I might have to watch that again because I don't.
He straight up says, oh, she's wasting her time.
Yeah. She's wasting her time, right?
Yeah, she's wasting her time. But we're sitting here going, no, she's
almost got it. Yeah.
She's almost got it.
She almost has it figured out. Yeah.
So what do you have in store that we don't know about? Unless he's just saying that to put Lonnie at ease. Because he did lie about Aldani. Like, that was the other thing that it didn't confuse me. Like, in a sense of like, oh, that's not good continuity. But it confused me in the sense of, what are you talking about?
Right. I think I think these next couple episodes, I think we're going to see kind of the fallout of what happens with Krieger's men. So that might be his side of the story. And then obviously Andor going back to Ferrex. And then Mothma dealing with this whole meet and greet with the son and the daughter.
If that's going to happen, it might not happen.
Yeah, I think she has to. I think that's the only way she's going to be able to protect herself is have him hide that money. So I think, and that was cool too at the end of that conversation because she was like, he's like, you can think about it. And she's like, I'm not thinking about it. And he's like, well, that's actually the first untrue thing you said while we're sitting there. So it's like, she's definitely has to think about it. So I think it's going to be the focus on the next couple episodes. That, and then on the Andor side, it's getting to that. I think Spell House is what they're talking about.
I don't know how they're going to wrap this up in 2 episodes. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Unless they're longer episodes.
Watch the next 2 episodes are 3 hours and 4 hours.
That'd be awesome. I do think this next episode could be, like finally hitting that hour mark, maybe 58, 59, 60. Mm-hmm.
Are we ever going to get that tied up loose end about Cassian's sister too?
I think maybe again,
or if she's really dead.
I know. I don't want to believe that because it sounded like it was misleading, but I don't think it's in this season. It might be in next season. Because I don't know how you introduce. I don't know. I just think these next couple episodes are going to be more close to a wrap up kind of thing. So
yeah, or they're going to introduce loose ends to hook you.
Yes, you could do that too.
That's the tricky thing about doing a season. Is the way you got to write it is you got to hook people to keep watching for the next season. So you can't close everything up. Right. But you have to close up, like it's a balance. You have to close up the right loose ends.
Yep.
But leave open the right loose ends. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you gotta keep something open that can continue on, but still wrap up what these characters have been going through this season. So,
and I have a feeling that even though they announced that Andor season 2 was confirmed during season 1, I'd like to believe that season 2 was confirmed while they were working on season 1.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they have to tie up a lot of loose ends. Because you always want to have your first season end, yes, a couple things untied, but ending where it's satisfying still for your viewer. Just in case it doesn't sign on for more.
Right.
Because then otherwise you got people going, what the heck?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe
right.
we are
that's
getting
right.
a 3-hour and 4-hour final two.
I'm all for it.
Amen.
Yeah. So episode 11 this coming Wednesday, 12, which I think is the day before Thanksgiving, is when that lands. So,
Oh, dang.
yes, I believe that's right? Because Thanksgiving is in 2
Yeah,
weeks.
no, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Finale will be on November 23rd. So, not very far off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else? Anything else on episode 10?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was a good talk, good breakdown. I think, Andor is, if some of these people don't win awards, it's going to be criminal. It's the show itself is going to have to win some stuff. So
I hope so.
I do too. All right, everybody, go enjoy Andor. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 11, which I'm sure is going to have a clever name as well. But it's probably going to be like finale part 1. Who knows? I doubt it, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Hannah, thank you so much. Great insight.
Thank you. Great insight to you as well.
Yes, awesome stuff. Like I said, take care, everybody. Go to patreon.com if you want to help support the show there. YouTube.com to get all of our shows. Of course, we're on the podcast on any and all podcast feeds. Just subscribe to your favorite on there. Keep coming back, and we'll keep talking about Star Wars. Thanks, everybody. Hannah, have a great weekend.
You as well.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.